Well, this was a busy week for She's the First. We announced our COVID-19 response fund based on needs that were uncovered in our Girls Can't Wait report, which you can find at she'sthefirst.org/COVID. Our goal is to get funding fast into the hands of girl organizations worldwide who are protecting girls and their families from the catastrophic effects that this pandemic has on those living in poverty. Before I introduce today's very special guest, I want to quickly acknowledge some special members of our front row. This Facebook Live series is named after our monthly giving community, which anyone can join with as little as $5 a month. We have over 200 members in the front row, and trust me, your small contributions really do add together. So front row member Rob Dumars is celebrating his giving anniversary this week, and we want to give a warm welcome to our new members who joined this past week. Amy Wolf, Morgan Phelps, Jamie Primiu, Sierra Kaler-Jones, Ridvan Foxhall, Nikita Patel, Aaron Purcell, Alina Romanoff, Alex Malillo, and Alma Erickson. We hope to recruit at least 5 more members to our front row today. So if that's something that you can do, please go to she'sthefirst.org/COVID to learn more. For the next 3 months, your donations will go directly to that COVID-19 response fund, and thereafter be used to ease girls' pathways back to school so that we don't lose a decade of progress in supporting their education on their road to becoming the first in their families to graduate from high school. All right, so now is the moment that you have been waiting for. I am so thrilled that my guest today is Ellie Kaaya. She is an alum, a She's the First fellow, a friend, and a personal hero of mine. You may know her as the founder of Her Journey to School, a community-based organization in Tanzania that fights gender inequality through education. We go way back with Ellie at She's the First. We began supporting her when she was in high school back in 2010. And since then, we have watched her graduate from university, meet Michelle Obama, no big deal. We celebrated She's the First's 10th anniversary with her exactly 6 months ago in New York. And we have watched her grow this wonderful organization from the ground up. So before Ellie joins us on screen, I'd like you to take a quick look at her programs in action. Hi, Ellie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so happy you are here. And we're going to just cross our fingers that the internet cooperates with us and that we keep a connection. If there are any troubles, you may have to switch off your video, but we're hoping that you can stay on camera the whole time because we have a really exciting conversation in store. So
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, well, we are all going to, leave our days with a lot of inspiration because of you. So, just to let everyone know, her journey to school, you have so many girls that you're reaching in that video clip, but it was only 2 years ago that you started the organization with only 30 girls to begin with. So, can you tell us about what we just saw in that video clip and how does that program fit into your broader mission?
Yeah, so in 2018, I only started with 30 girls. And in the beginning of 2019, I added other 30 girls. On the end of 2019, I aimed to fundraise to add more 140 girls in the program. But I was very grateful because the fundraising went so well that we were able to accommodate more 200 girls apart from the fundraising goal that we made. And therefore now we have 400 girls in our programs, both in 2 regions, in Tanzania, in Arusha, and in Mwanza. So the short clip that you have seen is one of the events that we do with one of our programs, and it's called, and the program is called Ndoto ya Binti, which is a Swahili word to mean a dream of our daughter. And within that program, we normally meet the girls twice in a month. And these are all the girls from the schools that we partner with. And we meet with them to talk to them about issues that they don't normally talk about. We talk to them about issues like pregnancy, menstruation, sexual affairs, body changes. So it was one of those days where it was a space for them to discuss these issues and have experts that would answer their questions and be able to facilitate whenever they really needed moral and skills support.
Yeah, that's a beautiful name for the program, The Dreams of Our Daughters. So, Ellie, as you know, girls in their communities have so many complex needs. How do you choose which programs to focus on?
So for me, her journey to school is a program, is an organization that I started because of my own past experience growing up from a community where in my own family, they never really believed in girls' education. And I have been one of the example of the people who had to fight really hard to be able to go to school. And as I was growing up, I realized how it meant for a girl to have the support, to have a mentor, to have a space where they can be able to learn about sexual reproductive health, where growing up in my own community, I saw that girls were not privileged to that opportunity. So it came as a choice for this specific mission, making a difference back to my community and in this country at large, to make sure that girls don't, as a leader, I just believe that as girls don't have to go through the same story. They don't have to go through the same situation that I had to go through. Not because mine was a bad experience, to tell a better story than what I had to tell. And apart from that, it's just the reality we can see in a community like in a country like Tanzania. It's one of the countries where girls are not given the opportunity, are not given, already, even when they are born, they are already being defined to the limits that they should become. They are already given names, they are already given responsibility that relates to the gender that they are entitled. And I think it is a good cause, and I am very blessed to have a team that really support what I'm doing and people around who are watching as well.
Yeah, I mean, Ellie, your story is so amazing. You are the youngest of 9 children, right? And the first in your family to graduate from high school and then from university.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first met you in person, I believe it was 2013, my first trip to Tanzania. And I have such a vivid memory of this day where we went, you were freshly graduated from high school, and we went back to your school or to a high school that you had worked with, and you gave a speech in front of a classroom full of girls. And I remember there was a girl sitting at a desk who kind of had her head like in her hand and her head was down. And to me, like while you were speaking, I noticed that, and I thought like, oh, does she have a headache or something? And it was after you gave your speech, she came up to you, I noticed. And in fact, she was crying, and you had given her a tissue, and you later told me that your words left such an impression on her, and she felt like you understood the challenges that she was facing, and she could look at you and see herself in you as someone who knew what she was going through, and you came out on the other end of that successfully. And it's something I think about a lot, because it reminds me how critical it is that girls have role models in front of them who look like them and who've gone through similar situations. So that's why the work that you do is so incredibly powerful. And I also remember that day you wrote on the chalkboard, Tuko Pomoja, is that right?
Yeah.
And why don't you tell everyone what that means?
It means we're together, and it is very true that as we are growing up, and as anyone around the world, we need the role models and sometimes can look up to. And it is our responsibility as leaders, as people of local communities here, to know that we have that responsibility to make sure that every single day we are just doing the best we can for them to have an example to live up to. And we also need to be able to support them, because sometimes all they need is a person they can talk to. All they need is a person who can tell them, you can do this, because every other person around them is just telling them what they can't do. And that's just traumatizing for them to even believe what are they even capable of, even before trying. And this is why this work for me is very personal. And it's very it really does matter, because I've been there, I've lived that life, and I know what it is like to not have a mentor or a person you can really open up to and be able to say the things that you cannot tell your parents.
Yeah, and that underscores the whole model of She's the First, and why we believe so strongly in supporting locally led organizations, because you are the experts in what your community needs. And that ties in directly to this Girls Can't Wait report that I hope our viewers go and read after this video. And that brings us to our current crisis of COVID-19. So Ellie, I want to move on in our conversation to talk about what's going on in your community right now because of the pandemic. What are the fears that you and others around you have, and how are the girls in your program doing?
Yeah, that's a good, interesting thing to talk about now, because it's what is going on everywhere around the world. Every person is fighting their battles, and it is a tragedy everywhere. Everywhere, people are trying to survive, people are trying to be safe, and people are trying to keep their families safe as well. So for Tanzania, we sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm like, this is the end of the world. And sometimes I wake up and feel like there's something I can do about this. For the reality here, the cases that we had, the first case in March, and it was just one case. And there, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, we just had a rapid increasing number of new transmission of 50 to 80 people in a day. And so now we have like 200 transmissions. Schools are closed. People are not going to work. A lot of people have lost their jobs, and the few people are very lucky to just continue to be working from home. And the things have fall apart. And just going direct to speaking about the situation with her journey to school, as well as the girls in our programs, even our own interns and our team are now can't come to the office anymore, and they have to work from home as well. But for the girls, they are at a very bigger risk to not ever return back to school, because now that they went back home, where the community and the families were just thinking, the father or the uncle was just thinking that this is you were not even supposed to go to school in the first place. So it put them in a very bigger risk for them. School so we are worrying about a situation where we may lose the girls that we thought we would have them when schools are finally opened. So for us, the things that we are doing to cope up with the COVID-19 situation now is to make sure that we are contacting the girls via phones and contacting parents via phones to talk to them on why it is still matters that they continue to be able to, but again, we're still facing a challenge because some of the community can't even have way we can print these materials and make sure that they are accessible to them. But another thing that we're doing is we are doing home visits. So we make sure that we are
Ellie, we're having some sound troubles. Could you repeat that last sentence you said before home visits?
Yeah, so I say that one of the things that we're doing is making sure that we are contacting parents and the girls via phones, because it is important that we continue to reach out to the girls. We used to be able to meet them at least once in a week when they were back in school, but now we cannot do that because of the situation and keeping them safe. So we reach out to them via their personal, very few have their personal phones, and we reach the majority of them via their parents' contacts, where we normally register these contacts in the very beginning of their start for the program. So why do we do that? Is so that we are able to emphasize the things that parents can help us with, and also identifying what are the challenges that the girls are still facing, even still they are at home. And this gives us a space to brainstorm on what can be solutions to be able to solve the challenges that they are facing at home. We want to be able to identify the challenges, the informations that they need. We want to know if they have soaps that they can use to wash their hands at home. We want to know if they are able to access the mask that they need to be able to prevent themselves during this time. And therefore, this is why it is important to contact parents via phones every single day of every week. So the second thing that we do is we do home visits. So we work very closely with the community and local leaders to identify the most risk factors or the most risk girls that may be at a very big risk to drop out because they may be married off. And therefore, even apart from that, we make sure that we are able to reach out to every family's households, and we are very happy, especially in a situation like this, because most of the girls that we reach out to are coming from same communities, because they come from local schools, and normally they are not living in another region. So they are all in Arusha and they are all in Mwanza, and it's therefore easy for us to identify area A, how many girls are living there, and how many girls are living in area B, so that we are able to say, okay, today we can be able to visit these 6 families in this area, provide them with sanitary towels, talk to their parents, and using all the precautionary measures as much as we can to make sure that we are safe, but also we are really keeping the girls safe. So among other things, we also use social media to make sure that we are helping other people, not just the girls that are in our programs, but every other person out there who may need either information or a word of encouragement, to be able to know that he or she is not alone in this situation. Another thing that we do, as much as we really would want to for things to work out is we continue to do fundraising through partners, because we didn't expect that our transportation, which was just once a week, will now have to be 4 days in a week. And therefore, we have to really work so hard to be able to fundraise, because we need more money now, more than we have ever needed in the past. And this is just because the effect now is bigger than how it was in the past, because things are even 2-3 times worse than they were before, with the situation of the girls and what they are having to face right now. So we're doing everything we can just to make sure that the lives and the mission of our journey to school is getting there, and I want to make sure that every girl is not left behind.
Yeah, that's very powerful, Ellie. And I just want to highlight a few of the things that you said because they're so important. One, the fears of the virus spreading in Tanzania are just next level compared to what they are here in the US. And that's because with the lack of soap, water, masks, this virus could spread very quickly, as it already has. I mean, jumping to, as you said, cases a day. And the hospitals, they just don't have the equipment or the beds to handle the people who would become deathly ill. You know, we're struggling enough with that in the US, and we have so many more resources. So that's one, like why the work you're doing to spread this, the resources and the health information is so vital. And then two, what you said about, you know, in your budget, you didn't plan to have these expenses for transportation jump up. And while, yeah, you can reallocate, you know, some funds from programs like your in-person gatherings, it's not enough to kind of switch your whole model from having girls come to you in person for these mentorship programs. And now you have to go to them. And you told me yesterday how long one of those car rides are to see the girls. How can you share with our audience, just to help them understand how far you have to travel to meet your girls?
Yeah, so we have basically 2 communities in Arusha, and we have like 3 to 4 communities, different communities in Mwanza. And it is a ride of 1.5 to 2 hours in a day. And that's just from the first destination to one destination. And when we say like 5 girls are in the same community, it means that you have to at least go more of 30 to 45 minutes per each to reach another household, because it is in the village, and these villages are too far. But apart from just transportation, we are also using other funds to make sure, for example, our team ideally now is brainstorming on how we can be able to create a soap, to create soaps, so that we are able to either teach some of we can't really say we are going to teach them, because it may create other factors, but we can speak to them on phone for them to learn how they can be able to make their own soap, so that they don't say that we can't even wash our hands because we don't have the soap. So we are trying to also make sure that we are becoming ambassadors to make sure that there are enough supply of soaps, so that people are able to wash their hands and use the mask that they have created themselves, so that they're able to tackle the problem. So it's just a lot of increase. It's a lot of
very creative, and the interventions of when you go to see the girls to check up and make sure that they're okay, you're also seeing their parents and their buy-in, and creating that accountability with them, so that they send their girls back to school when this is all over, is so important. And in terms of your budget, it's just having the added resources for the time. You know, you have to pay your staff for the extra hours for travel and gas for transportation. and that is a strain of resources for you running this small organization, but it is a feasible contribution that anyone in the position to donate could make, and it would go a long way. So Ellie, we're going to be promoting the link on this broadcast where people could go to give directly to Her Journey to School. There it is. So please, everyone, check it out and make a contribution to Her Journey to School to help them through their COVID adaptations. Ellie, we're running out of time, so I want to make sure to squeeze in this last question because you are such an inspiration to me and how resilient you are as a leader during these times. And we've shared a lot of years together of kind of watching girls' education as an issue gain so much momentum and support. And we both know that with everything going on in the world, girls are not being prioritized right now. And for all the reasons we've discussed, we know how devastating that would be in the long term, and that another catastrophe is on our heels if the world, doesn't act now. So how are you keeping your strength during these really challenging times so that your work will continue well into the future?
Yeah, so I'm not a superhero. I'm a normal human being, and this is hard. It is hard for everyone. It is hard everywhere. And it's just too much of emotional strength as well, because as a leader, people are looking up to you. The girls are looking up to you. Your team is looking up to you, and you can't just act low. You just have to be there to say, we will pass this. We still have to do something. And at the end of the day, you go back to your room and you're breaking down. But for just to go straight to the question is that I have been also having people who look up to me. I mean, are taking care of me as well emotionally. And among these people have been my mom. My mom has been an amazing woman, and she's tough. I am not half whatever she is. I think that I am learning to get to the toughness and the strength and resilience that she has. She is a strong woman, and she makes sure that she calls me every day just to check up on me and making sure that I am fine. And that just kind of reminds me that I have a person who looks up to me and always come back to check on me and make sure I'm okay. But apart from that, I make sure that I look also up to my role models, which I said from the beginning that it's a very, very important thing. I look to people like you, Tammy. I look to people like TD Jakes and Michelle Obama. I see that everybody is just struggling through this process, and it is important that I see they are still giving people hope no matter what is happening right now. But another thing that I really do is I go back to some of the moments that I said to people myself. There are some of the blogs that I have written about resilience and about my own personal story, about how we can get through the hardest of times. And it has been very, very important for me to go back to those memories and the videos I've made to say things like, sometimes you don't have to be okay, you just have to be strong. So in a moment like what we're going on right now, it is very, very fine for you to not be okay, but we have to be strong because it's a new reality, and it's something that we all have to face.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to take those with them.
At the end of the day, we say
have to be okay, but to be strong. And Ellie, like as you said back on your speeches and things that you've said in better times, and it reminds you have everything you need is inside of you to pull through this adversity. And I will definitely be echoing your words in the weeks to come. On our last 30 seconds, so we're out of time, but I hear that there are some comments waiting for you on the Facebook thread after this chat. I know you have a lot of fans who are watching right now, so thank you all for joining us. And encourage you again to support her school directly through Ellie's fundraising page. She's the fiscal sponsor of her journey to school, so we'll make sure that you get a tax receipt. Another option, we want to give a shout out to a mutual friend of Ellie's and mine, Kimothy Joy. She's a wonderful illustrator, and on her website, joy.com, she donates 10% of her shop's profits to her journey to school. So go on there, buy some artwork. I have some behind me in my bedroom, so I think you'll love it. Whichever way that you give, even if it's giving your voice to amplify Ellie's work by sharing this video after the chat, please do. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye to you all, and thanks again, Ellie. You've been such a highlight of our day.
Thank you so much. Thank you.